The world watched as celebrities stood up one by one to honor Michael Jackson at his funeral. Millions of people tuned in. Everyone expected to hear from the woman who knew him longest, the woman who discovered him, the woman who raised him like her own son. But Diana Ross never took the microphone. She sat in silence while others spoke. For years, people wondered why. Now, after all this time, Diana Ross has finally revealed the truth, and what she says will break your heart into a million pieces. Before we dive into video, please subscribe our channel. June 25th, 2009 was the day the music died. Michael Jackson was gone. The king of pop had left this world, and the planet went into mourning. Fans collapsed in the streets. Radio stations played his music non-stop. Television channels cancelled regular programming. The entire world stopped to process the impossible reality that Michael Jackson was no more. It felt like the earth had tilted on its axis, like something fundamental about reality had changed forever. Plans began immediately for a funeral that would match his legendary status. The Staples Center in Los Angeles would host a memorial service. 17,000 seats would be filled. Celebrities from every corner of entertainment would attend. The event would be broadcast live to billions of people across the globe. It would be one of the most watched moments in television history. Every detail was planned with precision. Every second would be choreographed. It would be a spectacle worthy of the greatest entertainer who ever lived. Everyone assumed Diana Ross would speak. She had been there at the beginning. She had introduced the Jackson 5 to the world. She had taken young Michael into her home. She had mentored him, guided him, loved him, protected him. If anyone had earned the right to say goodbye, it was Diana Ross. Her connection to Michael predated almost everyone else who would be at that funeral. She knew him before the world knew him. She loved him before the fame made loving him complicated. But when the program was released, her name was not on the list of speakers. People noticed immediately. Journalists started asking questions. Fans expressed confusion on social media. How could Diana Ross not be speaking? It made no sense. She was practically his second mother. She had been instrumental in his career. She had been part of his life for 40 years. Her absence from the speakers list seemed wrong. It seemed like a terrible oversight, or perhaps evidence of some hidden conflict. The funeral began with a golden casket on the stage. Michael's brothers carried it in. The sight of that coffin made the reality undeniable. He was really gone. His daughter Paris would later break everyone's heart with her tears. Smokey Robinson spoke about Motown days. Queen Latifah read a poem that brought tears to thousands of eyes. Lionel Richie performed with emotion, cracking his voice. John Mayer played guitar with reverence. Stevie Wonder sang with all the soul in his body. Usher cried while singing Gone Too Soon. Brooke Shields shared memories of their unlikely friendship. Magic Johnson told stories about Michael's generosity. Reverend Al Sharpton gave a powerful eulogy defending Michael's legacy. But Diana Ross remained silent. The cameras occasionally showed her in the audience. Her face was covered by large sunglasses. Her expression was unreadable. She did not smile. She did not cry visibly. She simply sat there like a statue carved from stone. She barely moved. She seemed to be looking straight ahead at nothing and everything at once. People noticed her silence. The media began asking questions immediately. Why had Diana Ross not spoken? Was there bad blood between them? Had something happened that the public did not know about? Speculation ran wild for years. Some tabloids claimed Diana was angry at Michael. They invented stories about betrayals and conflicts. Others suggested she had been excluded deliberately by the Jackson family. Some said she was too overcome with grief to speak, that the pain was so intense she literally could not form words. Others claimed she had refused because she did not want to be part of the spectacle, that she found the whole televised funeral distasteful. Nobody knew the real reason. Diana herself said nothing. She kept her silence for over a decade. She ignored the questions. She refused interviews about that day. She let people speculate and judge without defending herself. But recently, in a rare and intimate interview, Diana Ross finally opened up. She finally explained why she could not speak at Michael Jackson's funeral. And the reason is more heartbreaking than anyone imagined. It has nothing to do with anger or family drama or publicity. It has everything to do with a promise she made to Michael many years before his death. A sacred promise that she could never break, no matter what it cost her. Diana reveals that she and Michael had a conversation about death. This was years before 2009, maybe a decade earlier. They were talking late at night the way they used to when he was young. Somehow the conversation turned philosophical. Michael brought up the subject of mortality. He talked about how he knew the world would make a spectacle of his death. He knew there would be cameras and crowds and commentary. He knew his funeral would be turned into a show whether he wanted it or not. Death for normal people is private. Death for Michael Jackson would be the biggest television event of the year. Michael told Diana that he hated the idea of people performing their grief. He hated the thought of celebrities using his funeral to get attention. He knew that when he died, everyone would suddenly claim they were close to him. People who barely knew him would cry for cameras. People who had betrayed him would pretend they had loved him all along. People who had abandoned him during scandals would show up acting devastated. The phoniness of it all disgusted him. He could see it all coming like watching a train wreck in slow motion. Then Michael asked Diana for something specific. He asked her to promise that she would not speak at his funeral. He told her that she was one of the only people whose love for him was real. She had known him before the fame became insane. She had cared for him when he had nothing to offer her. Her love was pure and he wanted to keep it that way. He did not want her words about him to be consumed by the media circus. He did not want her grief packaged and broadcast and analyzed by talking heads on television. Diana was confused by this request. She asked him why he would want her silent. She told him that if anyone deserved to speak, it was her. Michael explained that everyone else could perform. Everyone else could give speeches and sing songs and make the event about themselves. But he wanted Diana's grief to remain private, sacred, untouched by the spectacle. He said that her silence would mean more to him than any words she could speak into a microphone. He told her that when she sat quietly at his funeral, he would know she was thinking about the real moments they shared. The hot chocolate conversations, the late night talks about fear and dreams, the times she wiped his tears when his father had been cruel, the times she made him laugh when the pressure got too heavy, the private sacred memories that belonged only to them. He wanted her to honor those memories in her heart, rather than perform them for the world. He wanted one thing about his death to remain pure and uncommercialized. Diana did not want to make this promise. She told Michael he was being morbid. She said he would outlive them all. He was younger than her. He was strong. He would be performing when he was 70. She tried to change the subject, but Michael insisted. There was an urgency in his voice that scared her. He made her swear that when the day came, she would stay silent, that she would let others have the microphone, that she would protect their relationship from becoming entertainment. Finally, Diana agreed. She promised him that she would honor his wishes. She hoped she would never have to keep that promise. She never imagined she would have to keep that promise so soon. When Michael died in 2009, Diana was devastated. The little boy she had loved was gone. The young man she had mentored was no more. The friend she had cherished for decades had left this world. Her grief was overwhelming. It was the kind of pain that makes breathing difficult. The kind of sorrow that sits on your chest like a weight pressing down. She could not sleep. She could not eat. She moved through the days following his death like a ghost. When she was asked to speak at the funeral, her first instinct was to say yes. She wanted to tell the world about the real Michael, the one behind the headlines, the sensitive boy who loved animals and children, the perfectionist who rehearsed until his feet bled, the gentle soul who was wounded by cruelty. She wanted to defend him from the lies that had been told. She wanted to celebrate him properly. She wanted to make sure people understood who he really was beneath all the mythology and scandal. But then she remembered the promise. She remembered Michael asking her to stay silent. She remembered him saying that her quiet presence would mean more than words. And even though it killed her inside, Diana Ross decided to keep her promise. She would honor Michael's wishes, even though the world would judge her for it, even though people would question her love for him, even though staying silent was the hardest thing she ever did, even though every fiber of her being wanted to stand up and speak. So she sat in that audience at the Staples Center wearing dark sunglasses to hide her tears. She listened to other people talk about Michael. Some of them knew him well, others barely knew him at all. She heard beautiful tributes, and she heard things that made her want to scream. She heard people claim closeness they never had. She heard oversimplifications of a complex human being, but she kept her mouth closed. She kept her promise. She let her silence speak what words could not. Each moment of staying quiet felt like swallowing glass. Diana says the hardest moment was when Paris Jackson took the microphone. Michael's young daughter stood there crying and told the world that her daddy was the best father anyone could have. Diana's heart shattered watching that little girl grieve. She wanted to run to that child. She wanted to hold her. She wanted to tell her stories about when her father was young. She wanted to promise her that she would help carry the burden of this loss. But she stayed in her seat. She honored the promise, even though maternal instinct screamed at her to move. After the funeral, the criticism began. Media outlets questioned why Diana had not spoken. Entertainment reporters analyzed her silence. Fans felt disappointed. Some accused her of being cold. Others said she must not have cared about Michael as much as people thought. The rumors and speculation hurt Diana deeply. She wanted to defend herself. She wanted to explain, but explaining would mean breaking the promise. So she endured the criticism in silence. She let people say terrible things about her without responding. For years, Diana carried this burden alone. She could not tell anyone about the promise because Michael had asked her to keep it private. He had not wanted their conversation exploited. She could not defend her decision without revealing their conversation, so she let people think whatever they wanted. She let them judge her. She accepted being misunderstood because that was part of honoring Michael's final request. It was a lonely experience. Being judged for doing the right thing, being criticized for keeping a promise. Diana reveals that she grieves Michael every single day. Not in public, not for cameras, but in the quiet moments when she is alone. She looks at old photographs of him as a child. She listens to his music and hears the boy she knew in every note. She remembers the boy in her living room with big eyes and bigger dreams. She thinks about the man he became and the tragedy of his lonely life. And she cries tears that no one sees. She mourns privately the way he wanted her to. She says that Michael understood something important about grief. Real sorrow is not performed. It is not packaged for consumption. It lives in the private spaces of the heart. It exists in memories that belong only to the people who shared them. By asking her to stay silent, Michael was protecting the sacred nature of their relationship. He was keeping something pure in a world that corrupts everything it touches. He knew that the media would dissect every word spoken at his funeral. He wanted Diana exempt from that violation. Diana also reveals that she wrote Michael a letter instead of giving a speech. On the day of the funeral, she wrote him pages and pages. She told him everything she would have said at the microphone. She reminded him of moments they shared. She thanked him for letting her be part of his journey. She told him she was proud of him. She apologized for the times the world failed him. She promised to remember him not as the troubled star, but as the sweet boy who stole her heart. She poured everything into that letter. She sealed that letter and kept it private. It was for Michael alone, not for fans, not for media, not for history, just for him. And in keeping that letter private, she honored his wish that their bond remain untouched by the spectacle of fame. She still has that letter. She's never shown it to anyone. She never will. It belongs to her and Michael. Some things must remain sacred. Diana says she has no regrets about staying silent, even though it cost her, even though people judged her, even though it was painful beyond words. She kept her promise because Michael mattered more than public opinion. Their relationship mattered more than her reputation. His final wish mattered more than defending herself. When you truly love someone, you honor their wishes even when it hurts, even when no one understands, even when you are criticized for it. She wants people to understand that silence is not always absence. Sometimes silence is the deepest form of respect. Sometimes saying nothing speaks volumes. Her silence at that funeral was not indifference. It was love in its purest form. It was honoring someone's wishes even when it hurts. It was protecting something sacred in a world that makes everything cheap. It was keeping a promise to someone who could no longer speak for himself. Diana also addresses the people who criticized her. She understands why they were confused. From the outside, it looked strange that she did not speak, but they did not know what she knew. They did not understand the promise, and she could not explain it to them at the time. Now that she has finally told the truth, she hopes people will understand. She hopes they will see her silence for what it truly was, an act of profound love and respect. She reflects on the funeral itself and how it became exactly what Michael feared. It was a massive production, cameras everywhere, celebrities performing grief, media analyzing every tear. The intimate act of saying goodbye to a loved one became a global television event. And in the middle of all that chaos, Diana's silence was an island of authenticity. It was the one thing that was real and unperformed. It was the one thing that belonged entirely to Michael. Diana says that she still talks to Michael sometimes. When she's alone, she speaks to him out loud. She tells him about her life. She asks him questions. She shares jokes. And she believes somehow he hears her. Those conversations are more meaningful than any speech she could have given at the Staples Center. Those private moments of connection honor who he really was. They continue the relationship they had when he was alive. She also talks about the guilt that many people felt after Michael died. So many people had failed him. The media had destroyed him. Fair weather friends had abandoned him. The industry had used him until there was nothing left. Everyone suddenly wanted to claim they had loved him. But where were they when he needed help? Where were they during the trials? Where were they when he was being crucified by tabloids? Diana did not want to be part of that hypocrisy. Her silence separated her from the people performing regret. In the years since Michael's death, Diana has found ways to honor him privately. She supports causes he cared about. She defends his legacy when it is attacked. She shares stories with people who genuinely want to understand him, but she does it quietly, without fanfare, without seeking credit. Because that is what Michael wanted. He wanted her love to remain pure and private. He wanted their relationship protected from exploitation. Diana reveals that telling this story now feels like the right time. Enough years have passed. The initial media circus has died down. She is at a point in her life where she wants the truth known. She wants Michael's wishes respected, even in retrospect. She wants people to understand that her silence was not a slight. It was a promise kept. It was love made manifest through restraint. She hopes that by explaining this, people will reconsider how they judge others. We do not always know what is happening beneath the surface. We do not always understand why people make the choices they make. Diana looked cold and distant at that funeral, but inside she was breaking. She was honoring a promise that cost her dearly, and only now can the world understand the sacrifice she made. This revelation changes how we see that day at the Staples Center. Diana Ross sitting silently was not indifference. It was one of the greatest acts of love and respect anyone showed Michael Jackson. While others performed for cameras, she honored his deepest wish. While others made his death about themselves, she kept their relationship sacred. Her silence was her final gift to the boy she had loved like a son. Now we know the truth. Diana Ross did not speak at Michael Jackson's funeral because he asked her not to, because he trusted her to honor his wishes, because their bond was too precious to turn into a spectacle, and because real love sometimes means staying silent even when the whole world expects you to speak. This is the power of a promise kept, and the depth of a love that transcends even death itself and reaches across the divide between life and whatever comes after.